Yo, yo, what's up, guys? It's Mar. Yup, it's Mar. I'm back. It's been a while. Life has just been lifing, honestly. I've been focused on getting myself together, getting my home life together, making sure my family is good, my finances are good. I'm not where I want to be all the way, but I'm on the way there, so I'm blessed. Um, Today I wanted to talk about. So this channel, if you watch my introduction, will be mostly about music, but also be we'll discuss different topics intertwined with music, right? Today I want to talk about the Kendrick versus Drake dilemma. Um, Drake just dropped three albums actually. I went on iTunes. I'm like, wow, three albums. So Drake just dropped three albums. Excuse my ashy hands. I just got done a job. I am a contractor, so that's my regular business. Anyway, Drake just dropped three albums, including Iceman. One is called Habibi, and then the other one is called something else. Anyway, I got to listen to some of Iceman, some of the other two. Then I saw some videos on YouTube as well that he dropped, and it made me think about this Kendrick versus Dilemma beef. Excuse me, this Kendrick versus Drake beef, and the dilemma that surrounds these two people. And it's very interesting, right? If you are a follower of hip hop, I'm not even gonna say a Drake fan. If you're a follower of hip hop, you know that Drake started off with like really being a true like hip hop head. Not saying he isn't anymore, because when you listen to it, even in some of his new stuff, he's still barring stuff up. Like he still got bars. I ain't gonna take that away from him. You feel me? Um, but I will say when he started off, it came from a more pure place. Songs like "Come Winter," "Think Good Thoughts." Like if you know these tracks and these songs, you know like I think Faraside, not Faraside, dang, what's his name? Fontaine, thank you. He always used to big up Fonte, uh, um, uh, who was part of Big Brother, Little Brother, excuse me, a part of the group Little Brother. But Fonte was like one of his favorite artists, and so he got a lot of his style, his rapping ability, all of that. He kind of was inspired by Fonte, so it's interesting to see his trajectory. Kendrick, if you know his early stuff, you know he been rapping, been barring stuff up. He had stuff early where he sounded like Wayne. You know what I mean? Um, like the Michael Jordan song or like stuff like that. So I've been followers of both of these artists early on, so I understand both of them to a certain extent. It's interesting, right? Because I think the Kendrick versus Drake thing is a bit larger conversation on culture. So the first thing I want to talk about is culture. I think a lot of times when we talk about Kendrick versus Drake, we're talking about, well, who actually represents the culture. The interesting thing to me is that I think both of them represent the culture, and this is why I say this. Kendrick represents a side of the culture where uh, that is kind of going out of style. I won't say going out of style. I'll say that it's not as common. Um, it's more so to the roots of hip hop. It's more so about black identity, about politics, about um, self reflection. Not saying Drake doesn't have these types of songs and records, but what I will say is over the years, it became more about who he is, what he does, his relationships with women, the money he has, how people has betrayed him, things of that nature. Which is not a bad thing. Is he's telling his side of it, right? So when we talk about culture, we're talking about differences in culture under the same culture. So I think that's where Kendrick comes into play. I think Drake's idea of culture is the bravado, the showing off, the woman, the clothes, and then also just kind of being very paranoid because for respectfully so, he's been at the top a very long time. So you are going to be paranoid. So you're going to make a lot of songs like that. That's the first thing is culture. So it's a difference in the parts of the culture they represent, which is why I think people have such an issue or choose a side so heavy. I have been a Kendrick fan and a Drake fan for a very long time. I lean more so to Kendrick, but I'm also biased when I talk about this because that's the type of music I like to listen to on a regular basis. I like songs that kind of make me think or are introspective or take me to a different place spiritually. You know what I mean? Drake is cool for like playing at a show or something like that. I also DJ, so Drake music does well at pretty much any event. You know what I mean? So Drake does serve a different audience. The second thing I'm gonna talk about is identity, right? So we talk about culture, we talk about identity. When we talk about identity, I'm speaking on um, the loss of identity within our community. When I talk about our community, I'm talking about Black, Indigenous people of color, right? Hip hop is a representation of our history. It's a representation of our struggle. It's a representation of rebellion. That is the original identity of hip hop, right? Over time, because of capitalism, because of the society, hip hop, became about money. And so we all started focusing on money, 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 money. So the identity, right? The difference between Kendrick and Drake when it comes to identity is, I think Kendrick's identity is more leaning towards the traditional. It's more leaning towards like uh, the integrity of it. It's more leaning towards the uh, intention of it. Drake's identity, I think, is leaning more towards um, the commerce of it, the capitalism of it, the um, assimilation of it. Right? I think he Drake is great at being able to do different styles and do them really well. Kendrick is good at what he's good at. Right? When I say that, it's not a knock to Kendrick. What I'm saying is like Drake is good at like copying things, and Kendrick is good at like creating things. So when I talk about identity, I think the difference between Kendrick and Drake is, I think so this is deep. Even going down to like who Drake is, his father being black, his mom being white, him being Jewish, I believe. Don't get me wrong, I think he may be Jewish. And then Kendrick just kind of coming from a more traditional black family from Chicago, moved to LA, identity down to that point. Like people that come from a mixed background usually struggle with identity. And so it's interesting to see that became a very interesting talking point during their beef. And I think also Drake kind of speaks for people that love hip hop but don't feel like they're a part of it. I think there are people that relate to that. Like a lot of people in the white community relate to Drake. They love Drake. A lot of people in the mixed community love Drake. Um, and then he's just great at like going to different cultures and taking on their style so he can relate to them. I think when I say identity, I'm speaking about how he presents himself, and then also what he what you see when you see him. To me, I see commerce. I see capitalism. When I see Kendrick, I see rebellion. I see I see commerce too. Don't get it wrong, because I think Kendrick is great at hiding the fact that he's really making a lot of money and he's really good at the business. But I think his intention is the art first, right? So his identity to me first is the art versus commerce. I think Kendrick's identity is art. And then when I talk about Kendrick's identity as a person, I believe he just represents um, a quote unquote foundational Black American. You know what I mean? Not that he's not saying he's part of that uh, organization, because that is an actual organization, foundational Black Americans. Not even an organization, but that is an identity, a foundational Black American. He represents that to me. He represents somebody that is to the root, to the core of what it is to be a brown and copper colored person in this country. So I think his aim and lane is different than Drake's, right? So when I talk about identity, I think those are different identity. And lastly, frequency. This is just down to the music. Drake's frequency and Kendrick's frequency is just completely different. I believe that Drake does serve a purpose in hip hop. I think his purpose is to serve people who like music that they can bop to, listen to, vibe to. He has very much that music. You can hear Drake anywhere. Like, most Def said it. Like, it's a lot of skews. Like, in even though he was low key dissing them, what he said was very true. Drake's music is good for like stores or like um, pretty much anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could hear Drake anywhere in any community of people, which is that within itself is a gift and a talent. So I gotta salute Drake for that. Kendrick is more to me a acquired taste. One thing I did appreciate about the battle is that Kendrick did show people that I can do that. And that's what I mean. Like, he can do that, and yet he chooses to do the other thing. Like To Pimp a Butterfly, like Damn, like Good Kid, Mad City. Like, these albums are so Mr. Morale. These are so deeply rooted in a message that he could have went for hits, and he still has hits on those albums, which is incredible. He could have went for the hit, the banger, the radio records, all of that stuff. Instead, he kind of still honored who he was, and I'm sure he has albums like Good Kid, Mad City had radio records on there. So I can't say Kendrick don't have no radio records. What I'm saying is that more often than not, a lot of his music is not even about him getting on the radio. It just ends up connecting with people, and in particular the black community, because he's speaking to us in a certain language that we understand. I think Drake speaks to us, but he speaks to us on a surface level language. And I think that's the disconnect between most people and Drake. It's like, okay, you're talking to black people, but we don't really feel you. We vibe with your music, but we don't really feel you. You know what I mean? So I think frequency. When I talk about frequency, I like a lot of times with Kendrick's music, I feel that, man, I can feel the pain or the happiness or the sadness or the anger or the fear. Like, even naming the songs those different things, and actually feeling like those things, and him actually describing those things on a deep level. Like, that to me was like art. Drake Drake has introspective songs, and I can't take that from him. What I'm saying is that when we talk about frequency, I'm talking about his frequency is more fun, lighthearted, let's have a good time. And once again, both of these serve the culture. I just think that when we talk about balance, I think we should look at both of these artists and say, you know what? This is the representation of all of us on a macro level of who we are internally. Like, yeah, we all can be very intentional, like Kendrick, and have a message, but we also can be very surface level and just want to have fun like Drake. So I think the point is of this video is the Kendrick verse Drake dilemma. There should be no dilemma. The thing is that both of these artists serve a purpose. Even though I'm more of a Kendrick fan, I still understand what Drake is doing, and I understand what it's for and who it's for, right? And I enjoy the music as much as I enjoy Kendrick's music. Well, I enjoy Kendrick's music more. I ain't gonna lie, but I understand Drake's music. If I hear it out, most of the time people are having a blast, and it works well. It works well at a lot of different places and in communities. Anyway, my point is there should be no dilemma. Both of these artists serve a different purpose, and the larger conversation is about what it represents on a macro level, which is humans, the dichotomy of human beings, how we have these different sides to us, and how we show them or don't show them in the world. All right, so this is my Kendrick versus Drake dilemma video. Okay, thank you for watching. There will be more. The Brown Man's Journal channel is about, obviously, my journey as a brown man in this country, in this world, but also, so like my things I deal with, my perspective, but also a lot of it will be surrounded around music. And then also I will also be bringing in the spiritual aspect of things, because I think a lot of times when we had these conversations, we don't talk about the spiritual aspect. All right. Thank y'all for watching. To the next video. Love yours, love yourself, love your neighbor. High vibrations only. Be blessed. One.